Hello everybody, I'm Mark Love here with Jojo Mayer in the SABIAN Vault, and Jojo's actually spent the week with us. 15 years ago, I believe, we worked on the Fierce Ride, we did Fierce Crash, we did Fierce Hats. More recently, we worked on the Omni, the AAX Omni. In between the Fierce and the Omni, we worked on the Hoop Crasher for 2.5 years. We've been looking at the Omni, but we're looking at a darker version, so we've been working on the HHX version.
My sound is more of a dark sound. So the AAX was kind of like a left turn for me, to go more bright. And at the time where we started to make the AAX, it's a very sophisticated cymbal and very difficult to make. Mm-hmm. So we were making the cymbal also adjust to a certain timeline, and we kind of wanted to finish like the process of like making it. And if we would have done the HHX, it would have taken us much longer because it just needed more. Like we needed more knowledge about it, and so we learned more about how to make those cymbals that they're consistent. And knowing what we know now, like 2 years after making those, like the time was ready to go to revisit the hand hammered version of it, which for me is actually like a dream come true, right? Because I can go back to my dark sound.
And really you touched on it, difficult to make, and that's taking it lightly because, we had to scratch our head a lot to figure this out because nobody makes this cymbal like this. It's very hard to make because the contrast between the dryness and the definition of the center with the flexibility and thinness of the edge, it's quite a process, and it's a touch feel type of thing with the lathemen, the hammer guys. Yeah. When we had days where we weren't getting along that well, but we figured it all out. And actually this week you've worked with a lot of the guys on the floor that, Blair and Allie and Chris, and, that are a big part of what we do here. So kudos to those guys too.
For me, it's always an incredible learning experience. Like, when I go home to sleep, my brain is usually active for a couple of more hours, and then usually the next day, I can consolidate more of the impressions that I had the day before, which I think is interesting because sometimes when we made those prototypes, they need a couple of hours or maybe a day to cure, and they will sound much different the next day.
And that's a big part of this process, and it's nice that you were here for the week because Jojo would hit one, oh wow, that's it, and then in an hour later, well, maybe
it
time changes it quickly. Yeah. So it almost has to not be right to be right in a week from now. So that's what we found out, and we incorporated more cold work and just the right process, getting the right profile and the crown, where to hammer and where not to hammer.
I think, like the original idea still is the same of like the Omni, because the Omni, it's not a ride cymbal, it's not a crash cymbal. It should be both.
Yeah, it's a multi-purpose.
So that's a claim that I want to provide with the cymbal, and that's what I was looking for, to have a cymbal that gives me a very clear ride definition, and also a clear ride definition, so the body of the cymbal would never eat up the stick, even if I get really loud. So I could play at any dynamic level, and I would always have a distance between the stick sound and the body, and it would never kind of go and like eat the stick. So I can play really quiet. Comes down with me, so even if I make really, really steep intervals, I have really good separation between the bell and the body.
So we have the bright Omni and now the darker Omni for those that like the darker pitch.
Yeah. And you can hear high pristine sound and a dark mysterious tone.
People may see these and think it was just, you know, snap, snap, and it all happened, but really, we've got a cartload of different, we probably made, you know, over 50 cymbals this week. With different sizes, different bell sizes, different manufacturing processes, actually. And I've got to say, it's always an inspiration for me to have you visit, because your mind is always working on new sounds and ideas, and it sparks us at Sabian to actually start thinking more in different directions that we might not typically.
What's really cool for me here is the atmosphere. You know, like people come by that are not directly involved in like the process, and they come by and they give their 50 cents and like, oh, I heard that, and this is really great. And like amongst the group of people, which is like you and I and 5-6 other people, like we started to develop a language that nobody else would understand, which is like between this and us, like we started to come with certain terms of like, okay, this is more creamy sounding, or this is more vanilla, this is more like this more hot air underneath the cymbal, and this only happens amongst friends, really. Like when you have this really intense relationship where you start to develop a language that is only for us.
And we've got a history too, so it's easier for us to communicate and talk that language, because we've been doing it for 15 years.
Yeah, this for me is one of the most, you know, rewarding experiences that this happens. You know, like we're able to create a language, and I mean, evidently to create a cymbal or like a musical instrument is like, you know, creating a piece of art. And do this in collaboration with people that I can learn a lot from is a really awesome experience.